Ahoy there, folks. I'm Captain Benzie, and welcome back to my little series looking at getting started in Influence, the brand new space MMO economic simulator being developed by Unstoppable Games. Now, this is part 2 in the series. In the first part, we looked at hiring crews, renting lots, and getting buildings actually constructed down on the surface of one of the asteroids. Today, we're going to look at completing those buildings, starting a couple of more, and what you can do in regards to moving stuff into warehouses, starting prospecting with an extractor, and making sure that your crews are fed. If you're enjoying this series and you want to learn more about Influence, make sure that first of all you are subscribed to the channel and that you hit like on the video so that YouTube knows to show you notifications about this kind of thing. Secondly, come join both the Catskull Discord and the Influence Discord. Great ways to get involved with the community, meet people who are playing the game, and find out what's going on. Otherwise, with all that said and done, let's jump right into part 2 of getting started in Influence. So at the end of our last session, we had sent a load of surface transfers across to these construction sites in order to get started with them. Now, these surface transfers have arrived, so we need to authenticate those, kind of like signing for the delivery. Now, this isn't something that will actually have to be done eventually later on. Right now, it's going to involve a lot of me completing and confirming all of these transactions one by one, which is not exactly the most fun little bit. But again, we are in pre-release, and this is one of those little kinks that is going to be worked out of the system. It's not a huge problem at the moment, but I can imagine later on in the game, if you're building like 5-10 buildings in one go, and you have to authenticate 8 or 9 parts per particular building that you're doing, that can get a little irritating. Fortunately, it doesn't take too long, but we're just going to go through and authenticate all of those one by one. Again, at this point, it's me showcasing what this is like in pre-release, with the understanding that there are going to be some changes come the actual global release. It's early days. That's how this kind of stuff works, and you do have to cut a little bit of slack. But here we go. This should be the last one. There we are. That is all the surface transfers now ready. And so if we were to click on any of these constructions, where's the one that we were actually working on? Here we are, warehouse. So the warehouse, now that everything has been delivered, we can open this up and go to Start Construction. And it is obviously a good idea to go for the warehouse first, because then we can start getting stuff sent to it, like food. Now, my crew at the moment is sitting on 95% fed. That's absolutely fine. Plenty of food there to keep going, but that is going to go down with time. Therefore, we want to get a warehouse up and built first of all. Now, having gone into the construction here, obviously you can see the site timer is showcasing that we've got a day and 6 hours left for me to actually confirm this building before it opens up again. We can see that the construction time is going to be 19 hours, 2 minutes and 51 seconds. That is including the 5% reduction for this character being a builder. Now, obviously, the more engineers I have in a crew, the faster that construction time is actually going to be. We can also see our different materials here all have the little check mark on them, which means we can actually go ahead and construct this. As a particular way of showcasing this, I've just gone and hired 2 more builder engineers to this crew, also 2 miners, but we'll talk about that later on. Now, coming back to the warehouse site, you'll see we've gone from 19 hours down to 12 hours. That's because we now have 2 more engineers on the crew, total of 3 engineers, giving a 0.727 faster time, and the 3 builders giving a 15% reduction on top of that. So we've got a significant reduction now in the build time for this particular warehouse. This is why choosing your crew is so absolutely vital. So with that done, we're going to hit construct. We're going to obviously authenticate that through the wallet. Again, that will not be there forever. Now the processing begins, and you'll see that our crew then needs to move to that location, which they will transfer across to, and start the actual build process. With that all confirmed, you can see that the build time is now 14 hours, 15 minutes. That's including the travel time for the crew to make it down here. You can also see the crew is now busy. This means they cannot do other actions. So even though I've got the extractor site here, technically ready to go, I will not actually be able to construct this because it's going to give me an error here saying that the crew is resting. Now, this is a sort of little bit of a quirk in the system. If I were to refresh the page, you'll see that actually this construct does then say that crew is just busy. There are some ways around that, but again, we'll talk about that in a brief moment. For the time being, we're going to let that construction get going, and we'll be back later to see how they're getting on. I also just want to jump in very quickly at this point to talk about what happens if you don't build before the site timer expires. Well, basically, like this warehouse lot that I've got plotted here, you can see in the bottom left, it has expired. This allows me to claim the construction site, take control of the site, and then you just claim it this way. Now, early on, you can actually use this as a way of transferring it between different crews. I wouldn't really recommend it, though. You can just go into the site permissions instead and give permission to different crews in order to do this. But this allows it to take it off one of the previous crews I had, and I'm going to actually put it onto this new crew, because when I first put that warehouse down, I completely messed up. I forgot to lease the land before doing it. And you'll see with that done, it adds it up to a new site active here and gives me another 48-hour cooldown on it. Now, beyond this as well, there has been a nice little update since I made the first video, and that's with me trying to build this extractor here. If I go to start construction, you can actually now see that not only does it tell me that I don't have those materials yet, but I can get this little icon here telling me that they're actually on the way. You can see on the left-hand side here, these are going to arrive in just over an hour each. But it says that they are on the way, so when they arrive, I can confirm those deliveries and get that constructed. And again, because we're using a decent crew for this, where I've got 3 builder engineers on there, I go from 19 hours all the way down to 15, which is a great little tip. Make sure that early on you've got quite a few builders on your crew, because you're going to have that as a good help to get constructions down quick and easily. In the meantime, I've also started sending some stuff across to my warehouse. You can see in here at the moment, there's not really much that's sending to, sorry. There's not really much in here. I've added some food and I've added some core drills. Those core drills we'll talk about later, as we will the food. But with a warehouse down, you can actually start transferring goods directly to that warehouse and storing them in position. You can see 0.7% full, plenty of space yet for me to work with that. So while we're waiting on those deliveries, I may as well feed my crew. At the moment, this particular crew, my Prospect Alpha team, which is 3 builder engineers and 2 miners, both with the surveyor ability, I believe, on them both, you can see at the moment they are on 72% food, which is absolutely fine. You only really need to start worrying once they hit 50%, which is when they start rationing food, and that can have some negative effects on your crew. So I've sent some crew to a warehouse. I've clicked on my crew in the top left. I'm now going to go in and actually add some rations. Really, really easy. We just pick which of the warehouses has the food in it, and then we select food. It's really that simple, and it will just pop up however much food they need, and so we can just go transfer, obviously confirm that transaction. Just a second again, that will eventually be popped into the main UI, so you won't have that pop out every time you do it, but you can see now that is now resupplying that crew with food, and that will keep them well fed, so we don't have to worry about it. I do recommend one of the first things you do is get some food sent out to a warehouse so that you can just make sure that you keep your food topped up for all of your different crews. You can see that already there we are, 100% there, and I've still got plenty of food left in there. Later on, of course, you can start producing your own food, just like the cement and things that we've been working on so far. Those can all be actually built by industrialists as well. Therefore, if you want to look into that, use some of the external tools developed by the community, figure out which bits of material you're going to need to harvest and extract, and then start reprocessing those into different bits that you can then sell on the market. Rather than having to buy cement from other people, you could theoretically create your own. Now the extractor has finished building, we can complete this, and we can actually start with some prospecting. So let's get that ticked off the board here. And then I will show you, now that we've got the drill bit already in our warehouse, how we prospect. So with the extractor complete, we come down to start core sample here at the bottom left. So we're going to open the start core sample, and we are going to choose which of the resources that are on this lot that we're going to go for. Now, you can, of course, go for any single one of these that you wish. If you've got a particular reason for going for, say, calcite or apatite because you want those particular resources, go for it. But here, we've got a very high abundance of water, so that's what I'm going to core sample. So we're going to hit done on that, and then under tools, we're going to go into our repository, our warehouse that I've already got built and slightly stocked, which has a core drill already in it. And again, a core drill is one of these things that you can produce later on, but I've just bought one from the market and had it sent to my warehouse ahead of time. From here, we're going to have a bit of travel time as the crew goes from Lucinda's Landing all the way down here to the prospecting site, where they are then going to take 40 minutes to actually get that sampling done. You can see that we've got 2 miners on the crew. That is going to increase our efficiency. So rather than ×1, it is times 0.8 on the time, and then a 20% reduction further because 2 of those miners are prospectors. On the other side here, we have the yields available, and you can see that how this would work, and there are certain aspects to things like miners that can improve this as well, but I've gone for the speed one just so that I can showcase it a little bit better. With everything set up, we're just going to hit prospect. We are, of course, going to authenticate that in the wallet once again, and then that will start to prospect and drill us a core sample, and we'll be back in the next video to talk about what we do with those.